just do whatever the hell he wants.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Pandemonium Live, episode 13. How you doing? We got the elephant in the room, Ryan Reacts, and Jennifer Gordon. How y'all doing tonight?
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
My new computer is being fixed, or my computer's being fixed, so hopefully I'll have it up in a week or two. So I'm a lot better now than I was last week.
Yeah, cool, awesome.
By the way, just a reminder to all your fans out there, just in case they are working to upgrade their computers, make sure you put the right RAM in the motherboard. If you don't do that, that could result in bad things.
Yes, there are many, many different types of RAM. Please make sure your timing is right also.
I found out the hard way. Luckily, I'm still under warranty.
All right, cool. All right, what we got to work with right now? Well, we were talking about one deplorable human being that can't be that just is incorrigible and can't be redeemed. But let's focus on another one, more well known. Trump. That's funny.
God damn it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Trump vows to make Christianity great again. That's weird. Let's just read this.
You gotta prepare us for these titles, man. I keep on almost choking on stuff. Freaking stupidity.
What was that?
I was just saying, you gotta prepare us for the titles of this stuff, man. I was inhaling my vape when you were letting us know that, and I almost choked on myself.
I mean, I don't know. I just go with stuff as I go. I just make up stuff as I go along at this rate. Okay, crap, where's this link? Tell senators no. I'm not gonna do that. Alright. Copy and paste. There we go. Alright. Now let's just read here. After vowing to go after journalists who write critical stories about him at a rally in Texas today, Donald Trump bragged about the support his presidential campaign has received from conservative evangelical voters, touting endorsements from televangelist Paula White, Liberty University president Jerry Falwell, and wait, Jerry Falwell Jr. My bad. About to say they have a seance or some shit. And Sarah Palin. Trump even brought Robert Jeffries, the conservative televangelist notorious for his anti-gay, anti-Catholic, and anti-Mormon preaching, onto the stage to sing his praises. Jeffries called Trump a patriot who is truly pro-life, unlike Hillary Clinton, whom he warned would be the most anti-abortion, pro-abortion president in history. God bless Donald Trump. Jeffries declared Trump had a much bleaker message. Christianity is under siege every year. It gets weaker and weaker and weaker. He said he would restore Christianity to greatness by scrapping IRS regulations, retaining the church engagement in partisan political activity on behalf of candidates or campaigns. So he's trying to get that Ted Cruz like support from the others. What do y'all think of that?
This is all kinds of bad news, man. Like, seriously. I mean, especially the end there when he's talking about, letting churches start, basically being involved in politics. That's not good, man. That's not what the country's about. First of all, and second of all, that opens everything up to everything. Then that makes it a lot easier for people to start going, oh well, now I want Sharia law, and I'm going to go through Congress to get it.
Yeah, it's funny. I can't remember. I think it was Mississippi or Alabama who passed a law that was supposed to be an anti-Sharia law bill, but they didn't want to come right out and say it. So it banned like foreign law, blah blah blah. And based upon the text of the language, someone pointed out that technically it bans biblical law because the Bible was written in the Middle East as well. So, and as soon as they brought that up, the guy was like, "That's just crazy. There's no way they'd do something like that." But it's in the law, so uh, fucking idiots. And can someone please explain to me what the fuck Christians aren't allowed to do that they were now that they were before Obama got elected? Just name me one fucking thing you're not allowed to do before that you're not allowed to do now.
Yeah, I got nothing.
You're not allowed to stop gay people from getting married?
Yeah, that's the best. That's about the best I can. I'm not allowed to oppress as many people as I used to, so I'm being under siege. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Seriously, I hope you don't mind me swearing because on stuff like this, I'm gonna get kind of coarse.
I don't give a fuck. Do it.
I think that one of the things though that they're not realizing is they talk about how Christianity is under siege and every year it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Maybe it's the fact that your position is crap that makes it weaker and weaker and weaker, and more people tend to realize that.
Yeah. I mean, that and honestly, I mean, if this happens, I mean, all we have to do is call the Satanic Temple, and they'll just make a point of it. Speaking of which, on another note, I actually took one of their talking points about the witch movie, and I actually saw that. I don't know if I'm gonna give a review about that right now, but honestly, in my view, it was alright. I mean, I guess I've been spoiled off of watching a lot of the modern-esque horror films, but it was it was a nice playback to that farm life and how like witches and ghosts mess with humans and shit. But yeah, it was all in good fun. I don't recommend it to everyone because everyone has a different taste, but yeah, it was pretty okay.
I can't watch films in that genre. I have bad enough dreams as it is.
I mean, I mean, there are some nice asses in that. I can't deny that.
No, see, I tend to have very actiony, very restless dreams as it is. I mean, this past week I've fought the Joker and had to fight a one-man war against a robotic takeover of the world. That's just two that popped in my head right off the bat. So my dreams tend to be of that vein. So if I get too much into action, then it just makes it even worse.
How did you what? Did you thought you were Batman fighting the Joker?
Yes.
So you were Batman fighting the Joker.
I've had several dreams to that extent.
I will see what that means, but I guess I'm not Floyd.
I think I have a hero complex, maybe.
Maybe. No, but I guess that is interesting though.
That's also why I stay away from The Walking Dead with a burning passion.
That's why you stay away from The Walking Dead. Okay.
Yes, I can't stand more zombie dreams.
Yeah, I was reading further in that article, and it's important to note that this is not a religious freedom issue, as it points out. Considering Trump's stance on Muslims and stuff like that, this is just for Christians. This is not all religions should have a say. It's just we need to make Christianity basically a big power, which goes against the whole religious freedom aspect of the Constitution.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, he's totally just trying to get that evangelical, vote in for his campaign. Yeah, of course.
Well, one of the things it always seems like it's going up, but I think I've played or showed the political compass test before on here, and how unbelievably authoritarian and fascist the entire GOP field is at this point. They're all in the extreme upper right-hand corner of the scale, up there with your most extreme theocrats at this point.
Yeah, I've got that saved. I keep forgetting to actually take the test myself.
The only candidates who aren't right up there is Hillary Clinton, who's still extremely right wing by their position measurements, and Bernie Sanders, who's basically a moderate liberal from a worldwide perspective, at least.
You want to know what really bugs me about Clinton? I mean, it's not just her flip flopping. She fails to own that though. Like at least in a more like experiential sort of way. Like, oh, I've learned through my experiences, and and I evolve on my issues. Like, okay, so basically, like in early 2008, she said she was against same-sex marriage. She was booed
Yeah.
for that, but whatever. Then she said that she's for civil unions and all that, but she's still against it. And then I think in like 2012 when she was on this radio like show or something, I remember seeing this on the DP. She said she was always for gay marriage, and anyone who says otherwise is obviously just taking her words out of context. Didn't evolve it, didn't change her mind. No, she was always for it. Then
Any
she
way the wind
yeah,
blows.
yeah, and the whole thing with Bernie Sanders. There are a lot of things we agree on, but what Bernie's just wrong. Then later on in the debates, oh, I agree with everything Bernie says.
Oh yeah.
Agree with, yeah.
Well, one of the things that I also kind of got to me is watching the Hillary support among African Americans in the polls, especially in South Carolina, since that's the primary today. I mean, Bernie Sanders, he was literally in the trenches in the civil rights movement. He was in there getting arrested like all the other college age activists. So, I mean, it's not like he was right there fighting from day one, basically. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel like he gets any credit for it.
Yeah, he seems to me to be the better of the two as far as someone who actually is speaking their mind and true what they truly believe to a sense. But I find it hard to blame anyone really um, with the flip flopping and stuff because of the way the political system is now.
Right, but
That
one of the things I have to say about Bernie Sanders too, it's not brought up as much as I think it should be, is he's been in the Senate now, what, 30, 40 years at this point? And as far as I can tell, as far as the presidential candidates in the field right now, he is also one of the least wealthy as far as annual wealth and total income, which means he hasn't been using his time in office just to enrich himself like so many others do.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. I mean, listen, if Hillary wants to flip flop, I mean, that's fine. I mean, you want to flip flop on your own political position, that's you. I mean, that's a personal thing, and that's fine. But here's the thing: when you start when you start running for like the most powerful position with not just within this country, but within the free world, that raises a lot of red flags. Because I mean, because what if you flip flop on something that actually matters, like war or like or like or like healthcare, something like that, something that impacts other people, foreign and domestic. You know what I mean? I mean, like words have consequences when it extends to the welfare of other people. That's what I'm talking about. And in terms of the issues, Bernie is like the only person who actually seems to give a damn about like change in this country.
Yeah, I understand completely, and I think they're both genuine, but I definitely understand what you're saying when it comes to Hillary because, if you can give a reason for your change, if you can say, look, like a normal person, I can, understand how times change, I can understand how feelings change, and I can understand that maybe my position was wrong, and so I've changed it. That's different from just going, oh no, this is what I believe. Totally, no, this is all, no, I've always believed this way.
Well, on the issue of gay marriage, originally I was more or less neutral. I guess I was kind of setting on yes, let them marry if they want to, but I didn't really care. It's just because it was none of my business. You know what actually convinced me to side just a little bit stronger on the pro-gay marriage side? Who wants to make a guess?
I'll guess you had somebody that was affected by the issue.
Nope. Listening to the arguments of Rick Santorum.
Yeah, that actually did sell me one too. I mean, like, Oh,
This is this is the best argument.
if you let the gays get married, the next thing you know, there'll be fucking dogs and everything.
Is this the best argument you dumb fucks can come up with? If that's the case, then sure, let's go for it. Let's have it all across the country. That was kind of my perspective as I started paying attention to the debate.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny though because when they make these stupid slippery slope arguments, like there's a good slippery slope argument, and there's a bad slippery slope argument, and obviously this is a horrible one because when you start equating people to dogs and cats and turtles and stuff, that's a huge leap. That's not a slippery slope anymore. That's a very sheer drop off from where we were.
Yeah, they kind of do the same thing for transsexuals transitioning. They're like, oh well, if a guy wants to transition to a woman, then what's to stop him from transitioning to a dog? And I'm like, well, there's a difference between gender and species. It's kind of not the same thing.
Well, and even still there, to be completely honest, uh, if somebody were to say like they've got got these freaking what are they? Not the furries, but the other ones, the kin, what's the word? Somebody help me out, man.
Otherkin.
Otherkin, yeah, the otherkin, like the otherkin. Okay, if it's like the South Park episode. Anybody seen that one, the dolphin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It look, if it's gonna if that's what you truly believe and it's not gonna hurt anybody else, I don't give a damn if you want to freaking get like some surgically implanted wings on yourself and call yourself a dragon. Go for it. You're a person, you have, the rights of what you want to do, go be a freaking dragon. Don't care. But it's when you start involving other beings that can't give consent in your actions and things like that that it becomes an issue. So obviously, the slippery slope into dogs and cats. Oh, well, people just marry dogs. Well, obviously, dogs can't give consent. Stupid.
Yep.
So let's be honest. If you look at the Bible, consent isn't necessarily a big thing when it comes to sexual endeavors, at least in the Old Testament.
It's very true.
No. That's all. That's all. Trust me, you're taking it out of context. I don't know what context that raping somebody and marrying them by force is good, but there is one. Trust me.
I forget the name, but one of the they like to give Muhammad shit for marrying an 8-year-old. Someone in the Bible, I can't remember who, marries a 3-year-old for fuck's sake.
Who was that?
I can't remember who it was, but someone in the Bible. Yeah, someone married a 3-year-old in the Bible. I forget. I'm gonna look that up while you guys talk.
Yeah, please. I haven't heard that one before, but
Yeah, all I know is like the one in Numbers where they wipe out the Midianites and they keep the virgins for themselves.
well, yeah, and then there's it's Leviticus, I believe, where they're talking about the laws, one of them, but they're talking about, oh, if you rape someone, you have to marry them and you have to pay their dad 50 shekels or whatever the hell it is. It's like, oh, okay. So I get a wife and all I gotta pay is 50 shekels? Gosh. No, that's a totally immoral book. Please continue.
Okay. Can anyone hear me, man?
Yeah, we can hear you, Wyatt.
Sure can.
Okay, cool. So am I the only theist in here?
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, you may be, man.
Okay, cool.
But we're all pretty cool about
Alright,
it, so
so-
don't worry too much.
Oh man, I thought I was gonna like Wyatt, and then I found out he was a
So you
theist.
guys aren't like the Jacqueline Glenites I've been chatting with recently.
I'm not gonna lie, buddy. I've kind of lost a certain degree of respect for Jacqueline ever since the plagiarism thing. But other than that, yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm more of a fan of TJ, but yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Of either one of them, I think they're both full of it.
Of course.
Well, you'll find many people, atheist and theist alike, are very uh, compassionate in conversation. So you can speak your mind. We're not going to shout you down and tell you you're a horrible person for it, but we may have some counter arguments. So please speak your mind in here.
So should we? So what should be the topic of conversation first of all?
Let's see. I guess since I'm the MC, I could make that appropriate. Let's see. I actually saw this on the Daily Show. Robots that get bullied by humans. There you go. So let's see. Let me read this. Watch the next generation Atlas robot get bullied by a mean human and stay on its feet. Um, Boston Dynamics has a new video showing off the latest version of Atlas, the badass humanoid robot, and it's pretty incredible. The most striking thing about this new version, is the amazing balance Atlas achieves. I've never seen a humanoid robot with this kind of agility. This version of Atlas cannot only walk over through rough terrain, but he can squat and pick up boxes. He could even you could even push Atlas violently with a hockey stick, and he'll maintain its balance. And his most incredible accomplishment, he could stand up after falling down. Uh, when I was in Panama, California, quote for the DARPA Robotics Challenge this past summer was one of the most difficult things that all competing teams faced was simply keeping their robots upright. Remember all those funny gifs of robots awkwardly falling down? They couldn't pick themselves back up again. Many teams use the Atlas body with their own software and alterations, and whenever an Atlas version fell over, the team would have to reset and start the robot from the beginning of the course, but not anymore. You watch a full video from Boston Dynamics below. Oh.
Yeah, that,
Do not have an opinion on that.
yeah, that new Atlas robot, something, man. I started watching that, and I thought, oh, okay, cool, another little robot thing. Then I'm watching it walk through the snow, and like, you know how when there's hard snow compacted on top and then soft snow beneath, sometimes you'll find a weaker spot and you'll just fall through it, and usually you'll fall on your ass. And this robot navigated that perfectly. Like you could see it trying to stumble, but then it was like, nope, maintain my balance, I'm good. And then yeah, even after being knocked over, I thought it was done. Honestly, I was like, oh gosh. And then yeah, it just picked itself back up. I was pretty amazed. This is some insane technology they got going now.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've actually heard like some studies on secular talks talking about yeah, like within a couple of decades, they robots might just replace humans in a lot of entry level jobs and stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a channel I was watching. It was talking about basically, robots taking over pretty much all of the uh, most filled jobs currently, such as transportation and things like that. Because now they got self-driving cars. I mean, that's a reality now, and with an error rate less than humans. And then they're teaching computers to write programs. So we're on the cusp of not having many jobs left to fill.
Yeah, that's too bad. I think I lost you guys.
No, we're here.
I just hope that in addition to the eventual robot uprising, that regular folks won't be all like robots took our jobs, basically.
They took
They
your
took our jobs.
Well,
Yeah.
I
think it does
definitely
sound more
think
outrageous than stuff seen under some beliefs.
it sounds outrageous, but it's happening. And I think the point of the video that I was watching was more so that we need to understand the reality that it's happening and prepare for it before we end up in a situation where we have unemployment at like 20, 30%. because it's cheaper to make a robot to do it. And we need to start helping people develop skills that robots can't and start filling those jobs. And when your education system is so bass backwards as ours, to where you have to be rich to get an education to actually afford a good job, it's
Yeah.
difficult. So we need to move forward
Right.
in education and actually educate our people post secondary school in good, solid job skills.
Yeah, probably have more people learn how to build these robots so then they could have jobs. Maybe that.
Mm-hmm. But it's not gonna happen if your average college tuition is eight 70,000 $80,000 for 4 years just for your run of the mill degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That
that
is right.
sounds like the stuff that Steven Anderson would probably say.
Wait, you're talking about that crazy Nazi-like boy from Brazil preacher you're talking about?
Yeah, Steven L. Anderson. That guy is ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, he is a dick. I'm not gonna lie. But
I
that
saw
is
him.
go ahead.
Yeah, I first saw him when when Dr. White was on the Dr. Drew show during that whole Bruce Jenner thing.
Yeah, he reacted like, I mean, I can understand when you say you don't support it, but that guy was like angry. He was like pissed. I'm like, dude, chill. I mean, my gaydar was going off. I mean, like when you're like that pissed off about someone else's life choices, I think you might have some stuff in the closet of your own to deal with. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Let's just moving on. Okay, what do we got on tap here?
Okay.
Okay. Christian filmmaker accuses David Barton of ignoring founding fathers' demon worship. Oh, this is funny. Okay. Hey, Sherry. All right, playing the clip now.
Tend against David Barton on that issue is I don't believe he really is examining these things, the founders, from a Christian perspective. And he's certainly not judging according to the Bible. And the chief reason that I say that is that David Barton leads tours throughout Washington, D.C., trying to convince people that the architecture and the design there is somehow or other evidence of our godly heritage or godly Christian heritage, we would assume. And yet the architecture is surrounded with all of these pagan statues of gods and goddesses throughout the ancient world that the Bible calls demons. The Bible says very clearly that Neptune and Apollo and Athena and Hermes and so on, all of these gods that are there in Washington, D.C., the Bible says they're demons. But David Barton says, no, don't be concerned about that. They're just part of classical literature that the founding fathers were educated in. He says the choice of those symbols by the framers does not indicate any type of paganism on their part.
Okay, so that was some idle Christian filmmaker disagreeing with David Barton's painting of the founding fathers as Christians, and claiming that they were into demon worship, which I tend to disagree with. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, sure. I mean, a lot of them, while they did, profess certain religious beliefs, a majority of them tended to be deists and influenced by the Enlightenment movement, and wanted to basically have their own, like, the opportunity to have their views spoken freely in a new society. But
Most
what
of
do
them
y'all
were
think of that?
Masonic, though.
Hmm.
I think most of the founding fathers were Masonic. Yeah.
What's up, Wyatt?
I think most of the founding
Yeah.
fathers were Masonic. I gotta go back and read my history, but yeah.
Well, that could be, but I mean, you got to look at. I mean, one of the big claims in this country is that this country was, formed on Christian values, and when we look back, we realize that many of the founding fathers weren't Christian. They were deist of some sort. Um, they were theist. They were, a lot of things, but many of them weren't Christian. They didn't have the Christian, Holy Bible in mind when they were thinking of a lot of this stuff.
Well, Thomas Jefferson actually had his own translation of the scriptures. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it even goes it even goes a little bit farther than that. In that he had his own. I mean, sure, he was a deist, but he also he had his own version of the Bible in which he divorced a lot of the supernatural stuff, just kept like a lot of the moral teachings of Jesus and stuff like that. But it's sort of interesting in that what you got here is David Barton is. David Barton is like the friend of who was that guy, Glenn Beck, the crazy right wing guy that loves Ted Cruz, who David Barton, who's not an actual historian, just does that for fun and stuff like that. Yeah, he tends to have drawn the founding fathers in a way that they seem to be Christian nationalists, but this one guy disagrees and say that they were into demon worship because they had different influences. And I mean, typically speaking, anything that's not Christian is obviously labeled, either satanic, therefore bad, and that's sort of like the
that
the
G-Man logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that he was talking about. He, very early in that he said, he's not looking at this from the Christian perspective or from a Christian mindset. And I know when I was a Christian, one of the things that our pastor told us was that some of the things you have to look through, and he didn't say rose-colored glasses, but it was basically what he meant, because he was talking about glasses smeared with the blood of Jesus, and that's what Jesus would see. And and so it's like when you start looking at things from that perspective, many things become evil that really aren't evil.
Right.
Also, I found what I had been looking for. It was Isaac marrying Rebecca. People disagree over the age. There are things that hint that he was 37 and she was born. Isaac was 37 when she was born, and they were married when Isaac was 40.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at least what the stuff I've seen. There's another school of thought that says, or interpretations that says she was 10. But I should point out, for a long time in Jewish tradition, based upon the story of Isaac, the legal traditional age of consent was 3.
Right. Yeah, but okay. What do you think about the whole? I mean, because it seems like it almost seems like he's going into like some kind of conspiracy theory nature of this, because he's saying that like the founding fathers were in demon worship, and based on their rise, it doesn't seem like they were into that. And like in fact they were for the most part pretty chill in that they just wanted like the opportunity to speak their own minds like in their own society. What do you think of that?
Well, these guys do seem to think independent thought is demonic, so.
Yeah, it's sort of going in that vigilant Christian Mario type of road, and that anything that is that's the least bit not Christian is anti, therefore evil.
Yeah, anything
I don't all Christians, but not all Christians believe that. I mean,
no, of course. I mean, no one's saying that not every Christian believes that. It's just that like we're dealing with like one with one that's a fundy that's thinking of
But I would like to know what that denomination is. If there is it probably is the Westboro Baptist Church, if anything, that you're talking about.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this guy. I don't know.
Not Christian.
Well, I don't know if this filmmaker is related to that particular denomination. I'm just saying that, whenever you're going into like a conspiracy theory route, it tends to be like if they're if it's not if it's not directly, invoked in like celebrating Jesus and all that other stuff, it's satanic, therefore bad. I mean, that's just the mindset of how it goes. It's like it, it's it's sort of like, for example, anyone here heard of Katy Perry?
No,
I've
who's
heard of
that?
Yeah, okay. Famous singer, popular. Basically sings a few lyrics. Artist subjective. You could basically apply it to anything. She talks about like aliens or something like that. That's not Jesus. Therefore, it's anti-Christian. Therefore, bad. Like
I
you could
think
do this
if
with
you
almost
want to
anything.
get a little more extreme with it, it's when she performed at the Super Bowl with all kinds of demonic stuff there. That's what the newest problem with Katy Perry is that in the Christian world that I know of, is that she performed at the Super Bowl with all that, flaming dress and lion thing. The thing was crazy. But it's not because it's not me. I'm just saying that's what most Christians are really against when it comes to like Katy Perry doing all kinds of weird stuff. And then, I mean, promoting sexuality. Remember I Kissed a Girl?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, a lot of Christians in this case, but a lot of people love to look too far deep into things that really don't mean what they mean. I mean, you one of the things you talk about, like the flaming dress. Is that what you said? The flaming dress? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
I think.
but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not the one talking about the Super Bowl. The other Christians I know are the ones talking about the Super
No,
Bowl.
no, no. I was just asking if you said flaming dress.
Yeah, she had something on, or something was very subjective to them, and some Christians said, "See that flaming dress that she's wearing? That's exactly where she's going to end up."
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, though. That's what I'm talking about. A lot of these
That's
people
not
are
something
looking too
I would
far into
say.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
would.
no, no. Yeah, I'm not saying that you would. I'm just saying that a lot of these people are looking too far into it, and you go, oh, this flaming dress, that means hell, and it's like, well, you realize that there was just a, very popular movie series that came out that had a lot to do with dresses on fire.
Wait, you're talking about that. What is
Hunger
that
Games.
friggin'
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Hunger
Hunger
Games.
Games. I
So I
hate that I
mean,
missed the last movie of that, but yeah.
so I mean, a lot of artists draw on popular culture in reference to draw out that popularity, and whether it's subconscious or conscious, they do things like that to go, oh, hey, a lot of people recognize flaming dress and the emotions that it brings from Hunger Games. Oh, they love that person, so I'm going to come out in a flaming dress, and maybe people will react the same way to me.
I think just a lot of Christians think that secular music is bad for children. And that's their main statement.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but yeah, that's the point. I mean, you could do that with almost anything, though. I mean, like anything that's popular in the media, as long as it's secular and has nothing to do with religion. I mean, you could see Satan almost anywhere, apply it there, and therefore make it bad. I mean, that's like I mean, it's not hard. I mean, for example, Vigilant Christian. I mean, not too long ago, they like Fox did this crossover with the Simpsons and Family Guy. They got Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin, and the Daisy Dukes in the friggin' and like washing the cars and stuff like that. Oh, look at there, that's satanic. They're washing the cars. That's evil. Like don't watch that. You're gonna get possessed. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, it's easy.
Yeah, I need to have some words someday with Vigilant Christian Mario for one of the videos he did that I don't approve of.
Well, My Little Pony might be satanic. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I literally would not be surprised if he did that one on that.
A lot of Christians would
No, he
complain.
did a video on that. That's
It's no longer hidden. It's not a hidden agenda. Like when you watch some of this stuff, it's like directly in your face. They show like a Satan statue or something in a video, like Lady Gaga, or I mean, it's not my opinion, but it's just what I hear from other Christians. I don't really care. I don't care. See, with me and my family, I'm gonna raise my kid so he has a choice, and I'm not gonna tell him what to do. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I was raised. I picked the wrong choice, in my opinion, but you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's awesome, Neil. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you go, Jen. I just really wanted to say that's awesome, Neil. If I'm gonna take you at your word that you're that you're going to do that, and that's fantastic because there's so many Christians out there that are just like, nope, they're going to be a Christian, and I'm going to make them
They
that way.
hold on to a biblical verse so hardcore, and it says, "Raise your children to love the Lord" and stuff like that. And that's okay, but that doesn't mean indoctrinate them with it.
Yeah, because that also could be an issue. Because if you indoctrinate them too hard, that and not expose them to anything else,
Of
like
course, they're going to turn out bad. Yeah, they're
yeah,
going to turn out the opposite.
yeah. Then the first time they get exposed to something, then they're gonna look at your stern like, oh no, I raised you to be like this, and it's like that you gotta give them the choice basically. But yeah, I do agree with that mindset. But anyway, moving on. Okay, we got let's see, Scalia. What about Scalia? What's this article called? William Rivers Pitt, the Speaker for the Dead, Antonin Scalia, and the Truth. Okay. Putting the link in the side chat. All right. Let me see. What the hell does this say? Okay, for a long time now, I've been waiting with diligent patience to write 3 articles. One on the passing of former President George W. Bush, one on the passing of former Vice President Dick Cheney, and one on the passing of now former Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. That's morbid as hell, just saying right there. But anyway, the novelist Orson Scott Card developed in his writings an idea for someone known as a speaker for the dead. The speaker does not spit polish and shine the departed at the gravesite, doesn't eulogize inflated greatness or create a polite fiction to please and soothe. The speaker tells the unvarnished truth about the one going into the ground, the good, bad, and the ugly. Today I stand as Justice Scalia's speaker for the dead. First, the good, Justice Scalia dedicated his life to public service and scholarship in the law. Excuse me. He met his wife Maureen McCarthy on a blind date in 1960 and died with his wedding ring still on his finger. Yada yada. The couple raised 5 sons and 4 daughters together. Among his boon companies was Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who knew him from their shared days on the D.C. Circuit. 2 made a long-standing ritual of sharing family dinner every New Year's Eve. If Justice Scalia was not loved by most, he was surely loved by many. The bad and the ugly, unfortunately, require more time in the telling. Whatever Justice Scalia may have been to his family and friends, he was to the nation a wrecking ball. A wrecking ball like Hannah Montana or whatever, Miley Cyrus. One may try to deny that he was a racist, sexist, a homophobe, an unabashed authoritarian, and in the end, a simple, shabby, ward-heeling Republican lackey. The black layer of truths about the man buried in his decisions for the majority and the minority, as well as his often public comments, tell the true tale. It is abundantly clear that Mr. Scalia approached his duties with a broad sense of entitlement, exclusion, and venom. The man had a lot of hate in his heart, and it poured onto the pages of his decisions in vigorous abundance. Scalia, by way of his argument in Bush versus Gore to stop the vote counting in Florida, was instrumental in giving us Bush what gave us Cheney. Dumbs Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz, September 11th, the ongoing Afghanistan war, WMD lies, the Iraq war with millions dead and maimed and displaced, the horror of ISIS, torture as accepted policy, surveillance as a fact of life, the assassination of constitutional law, absolute corporate rule, the disaster of Hurricane Katrina, and the demolition of the U.S. economy. Why? Because of his interpretation of the questionable legality of counting all the vote casts. What do y'all think so far?
I agree with the wrecking ball part.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't think people like Scalia have any place on the Supreme Court. I mean, the Supreme Court is a place where you're supposed to have people whose job, their sole job, is to interpret the Constitution unbiasedly. And there was no even concept of that word in his vocabulary. Every decision that he's made has been biased to his side. And it's unfortunate that we're at the place we are now, especially as the article goes on to talk about Citizens United, and now we've got these things that are just horrible in the system, and because the Supreme Court has basically said their law, that we're stuck at this point.
Yeah, and it's also worth bringing up that, just to put it in perspective, the place where he died was at a very expensive resort that he received from as a gift from a friend who had business before the court, which means in any other case, in any other judge, a smaller, lower court, that would be considered blatant bribery, but the Supreme Court isn't held to the same standards and lower standards on that issue, which means, it's cool for them to do it, but any other judge in a lower court, they'll get railroaded out of town if something even close to that comes, because it's considered a conflict of interest.
Right. And also, and the article doesn't stop there. It actually goes further. Scalia was in favor of Citizens United because he claimed the framers of the Constitution would welcome the power and influence of modern billion-dollar multinational corporations, despite the fact that Jefferson and the others regularly railed against corporate power with militant vehemence. Held the Boston Tea Party was a protest against corporate homogeny. Don't tell that to Tony. Quote, most of the founders' resentment towards corporations was directed at the state-granted monopoly privileges that individually chartered corporations enjoyed. He wrote in his concurrence, modern corporations do not have such privileges. Yeah, right, tell that to the taxman. Justice Scalia ruled in favor of Hobby Lobby's desire to discriminate against basically whoever they want because they think Jesus is whispering in their ear. In his dissenting opinion against same-sex marriage, he railed against the civil consequences of people who love each other consecrating their union. When Anthony Graves, a black man who was spared the death chamber by court exoneration in Texas, Scalia argued in dissent that Graves should still be executed because established proof of innocence should not upend standing court decision, even if that decision is decisively proven wrong. He also ruled against petition to drop a sodomy law directly aimed at the LGBT community, claiming that the people in favor of the law were protecting themselves and their families from a lifestyle that they believed to be immoral and destructive. His disdain for anyone not heterosexual was well documented. Of course, it is our moral heritage that one should not hate any human being or class of human beings, Scalia wrote in 1996. But I had thought that one should consider certain conduct reprehensible, murder, for example, or polygamy, or cruelty to animals, and could exhibit even animus toward such conduct. Surely that is the only. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. Basically.
Well, as I said in the side chat, every time I hear his name, now the song from Wizard of Oz pops into my head. Ding dong, the Wicked Witch is dead.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then now, and I don't know how this situation is resolving yet because I haven't had much time to look at the news recently, but we're in a very important part here because the Senate, I believe, is trying to block a new appointment until the new president is elected, which is not legal. Also, basically, I saw a meme and it was very poignant though. And it basically said, depending on the next president or depending on the next justice that gets elected, we're either going to get Citizens United overturned or Roe v. Wade overturned. So it's very important on who gets this next freaking justice appointment.
And I also feel like it's worth pointing out, a lot of Christians like to say now, God's will this, God's will that. Hey, maybe God killed Scalia because he wanted Obama to make the next appointment. Ever consider that? Maybe God is trying to tell you guys the direction he wants the country to move in. Just a thought.
And that's one of the ones I point out to a lot of people is that, especially when they're like, oh, well, this was the wrong candidate and no, he doesn't believe in this and that, yada, yada. And it's like, well, the Bible says that all leaders are appointed by God. So if this was appointed by God, then you got to deal with that and you should be supporting him, not railing against him.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I deal with when I actually managed to. I was at a restaurant talking about this. I managed to piss a woman so bad she like stormed off halfway through the conversation out of the restaurant. I was discussing, how I think one of the most arrogant and conceited things someone can do is try to speak for someone else. You'll have that a lot of times. Well, if the founding fathers were here today, well, my guess is if they were here today, some would agree, some would disagree, they'd argue, they'd fight, they'd figure something out. And when you're trying to put your opinions onto them, that's just being a conceited prick to try and speak for someone else. And I'm not a Christian, but there's really nothing more conceited than trying to claim the right to speak for God or to say you know His will. The only one who can do that, who should be allowed to do that, is God Himself.
Well, and besides that, they show their ignorance when they do that too, because most of the time they're like, "Oh, the founding fathers would want this," and it's like you know nothing about what the founding fathers believed in, or what they wanted, or what they wrote into the freaking Constitution.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I always laugh about is like I think it happened a lot during the Obamacare debate. This is the greatest expansion of federal government powers since since ever, basically. And my response is, you know what the biggest expansion of federal government power was? Writing the Constitution. When we went from the Articles of Confederation to the Constitution, that was a huge government power grab, relatively speaking. Because under the Articles, there was basically no federal government.
Well, and with government becomes responsibilities of the government, and that's the important part, that we realize that they have responsibilities to us and act accordingly. And we've got to fight for the rights that we should have, and we have to try to take down the systems that aren't working. And I'm not saying like, rise up and, kill the bastards or whatever, but, we've got to do what's in power within the law to try to make this stuff work the way it should. And that's the beauty of what the system has given us, and it's devolved into this kind of you know publicity show to where it's like, oh no, you like me best, and so you're going to agree with my ideas, and people voting against their own interests because they're not true Christians if they don't vote for the right freaking Republican candidate.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I remember from someone did an article where they had their reporters switch campaigns. One was covering a Democrat, went to cover a Republican, and vice versa. One of the things that the guy who was covering the Democrat, now covering, I think it was Ricky Rubio, was how the campaign was just based not on issues, but general broad concepts like God, the Constitution, and the Founding Fathers. Just, they don't define anything. They just come up with these general ideas that people like and ascribe that to their own ideologies. I just find that interesting that people do that.
Yeah, and it's all a game, and like I said, I don't begrudge a lot of the candidates their positions due to the fact that this is the way the system has become, to where you have to do this to get elected. And if you are sincere about trying to make change and trying to do this stuff, someone who is actually fighting for their common person and who says so and who just sticks by that is not going to get elected.
Right. It's one of those things too. The Republicans like to, dang it, brain fart. Sorry, I'm gonna have to try and remember what I was gonna say.
Oh, that's fine. I was just saying, so when, and you made me brain fart. Wow, that's like some subsonic crap going on here. But yeah, no, when you espouse the general ideas, basically you end up being a moderate, and nobody votes for a moderate. People vote for the left or people vote for the right because they ring more to their ideologies, but I don't think either of those is correct. The middle of the road is probably the more way to go, and let's work together and try to make this a better system. But nobody wants that. Nobody has the time these days, it seems, to become informed about their candidates and about the issues and about what the issues actually mean. And so people play on the broad emotional aspects of everything, and either goes, hey, terrorism's here, they're going to kill you unless you vote for me, or gay people are going to crash your wedding and make you marry gay people, and stuff like that. And it's like, gosh, this is so unfounded, but it happens on both sides too. And it's very frustrating because I feel disingenuous in trying to vote for a Democrat who's using the same tactics, but at the same time, I understand why they're doing it. And at the end of the day, you have to try to suss out the real motives of the person involved. And I'm sorry, but if your motives are to try to make biblical law United States law, I'm sorry, that can't happen.
Yeah, but at the same time, I have to say I do feel that's a little bit of a false dichotomy, the comparing Republicans and Democrats. I mean, say what you want to say about the crazy left's hatred of George W. Bush, but at least when they hated him, it was for shit that he actually did, lying about wars and false intelligence and and that stuff. And when they hate Obama, he's a secret Kenyan-born, secret Muslim, secret gay, who's going to take all your guns, and just a whole long line of conspiracy bullshit. And the reason why they have to come up with that conspiracy nonsense is because when it comes to actual policy, he's not nearly as far away from their stance as they'd like to believe.
And that's one thing that I honestly, as much as I hate the man, I gotta give Trump props in the fact that he's not only a birther with freaking Obama, he's a birther with Ted Cruz too, and he's just as silly either way. And it should point out to people that he's an idiot and he doesn't understand how laws work and how our system works.
Oh, that was actually the brain fart that I forgot. That I've started to realize, suddenly realize, kind of why it is that Trump got so big and so popular. He's got no details, he's got no ideas. All he's doing is just putting out broad concepts. And then I started to think about it. Well, that's what the Republican Party is: overhyped, broad concepts with no real definition that they can just later pencil in what they actually mean in specifics. Trump is the ultimate hype man for that.
It's just sad that every time that they win, and basically they're like, hey, we're going to make things better. No clearly definable way, but we're going to make things better. And then after the 4 or 8 years that they're in office, things aren't better. But they still keep voting for them, and it's so frustrating.
Well, in the beginning, both Reagan and Bush Jr. ended their 8 years with massive banking crashes. So not only did they not make things better, but they also ballooned the deficits. They also created a whole lot of worldwide instability. To a large extent, both of them were made the world and country a lot worse.
Yeah,
Clinton came in, he stabilized things, created a economic surplus.
Yep. Yeah, and Obama's, he hasn't quite had the same luck in being able to get to the surplus, but he has definitely reduced the deficit quite a bit.
Yeah.
And turned things around, and it's the numbers are there. And I hate it because people are misinformed about all these topics. I posted on something on Facebook because I just got so frustrated. They're like, oh, well, unemployment's down because people stopped registering for benefits. It's like, idiot, that's not how they count unemployment.
Yeah, and also there's I remember a couple years ago, I saw an article, one by National Review, the other by Mother Jones. So two diametrically opposed papers, both possibly saying that they were worried that Obama might be pulling back the deficit too quickly, lowering it too quickly, because that would really lead to lower spending too fast and damage the economy. So not only you got both far right and far left wing sources worrying that Obama's not only is he cutting the deficit, he might be doing it too quick.
Yeah, that's so insane.
All right, I'm back. Okay, what else we got on tap? How about Brian Fisher? Yeah, Brian Fisher. He's pretty crazy. They're watching us like hawks. Who are they? Don't know. But we're going to find out from the crazy man himself. Loading the clip.
Back to this Tuesday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point. The network is AFR Talk, the most dangerous and feared radio network in all of America. Jeff Reed, my producer, telling me that yesterday, Right Wing Watch, that's what they do. They watch the right wing. It's an agency, it's a division of People for the American Way, Norman Lear.
He's aware of Right Wing Watch and the fact that he's on it.
They're arch secular fundamentalist, way left, so far left he'd fall off the earth if the world was flat. And
he's not a flat earther. Give him points for that.
Do nothing but monitor the right.
What was that?
I said he's not a flat earther. At least we can give him points for that.
All right, give it a minute. It's almost done.
Wing. Yeah. And according to Jeff, we just dominated their website yesterday. There were only 2 stories on their front page that didn't involve broadcasters that are part of the AFR Talk network. They watch us like a hawk, and this means, ladies and gentlemen, that they recognize that we are a threat to the interest of secular progressives, to the interest of secular fundamentalists.
I wouldn't necessarily put him on the as a threat to. Well, I don't even know what the hell secular fundamentalism is, but yeah, I think he's more low-hanging fruit and just uses sort of like sort of like a funny talking point.
I don't know if he's a threat. He might be too small, but I do think his ideology it's not a threat to, well, it is a threat to secularism, but it's a threat to the world. It's a threat to the United States. It's a threat to humanity. If you look at stuff like global warming,
as a threat to rational thought, basically.
Yeah, he's a threat to everything.
Basically.
At least the ideology is.
I think he was almost fired off his radio show, actually.
I hear Glenn Beck is getting pretty close because he's lost all his sponsors now, and all he's got left are fucking survival kits and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's kind of close into that like Alex Jones territory. I mean, like you can only say so much crazy, outlandish nonsense before you just fall out with everyone who's supporting you.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Him and Glenn Beck Alex Jones and Glenn Beck seem to be having a little war words over. They both back a different Republican. Alex Jones is for Trump, and the weird thing is it's actually over a thing that I kind of agree with Trump on. And that's just a little bit bringing back some import tariffs to encourage domestic manufacturing. Which I thought about doing like a scoring system. Like the worse a country treats its people and its workers, the more taxes they have to pay to import goods to the United States.
Right.
So countries like the South African diamond mines, they'd have to pay a shit ton to get their goods in, but Canada would pretty much be scot-free. At least with this additional import tariff, but if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and the reason Beck is backing Ted Cruz is because he's more of the Jesus-y, or at least tries to play more of the Jesus-y position of like the Republican candidates, and because of that he sort of clings to him as like the chosen Messiah who's gonna save America and everything and all that. I remember when I saw a clip of them all together, praying and stuff like this, and just smile and everything, like, we've been working so hard, we've seen it with the Tea Party, we've seen it with when Bush was running, now we're finally seeing it, Ted Cruz.
Yeah, although I have to say at the same time, I'm kind of curious if Bernie gets elected and there's a big Democratic wave into Congress and Senate. I'm wondering what the next Republican Revolution is going to be called, because they seem to have one every 10 or 12 years. So
I know, right?
They keep on having a revolution, and it's not because they're any more popular, just because their crazy base always votes, and the rest of the country doesn't necessarily always do it. Reagan Revolution, then Gingrich, and then Tea Party, and then there was the Neocon Revolution. I think that was a mini revolution, but when Bush was in power. It's just, constant nonsense. They always want to sell themselves as something new when it's the same old shit.
Right. Okay, what else we got on tap? Anyone else have a view on this?
Well, I don't really. I just I was gonna head out. I just wanted to thank you for having me this time, and I just wanted to let you know that I was posting that video I was talking about earlier about the robots and
Robots?
stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm posting that in the side chat. But thanks for having me, man. I'll be back next time.
Yeah, you're always welcome, man. Okay, what else we got? I guess Pat Robertson. Okay, we're dealing with this. Okay, links load up. We got Pat Robertson leave the homosexual lifestyle and find real love, apparently. Jay, you still gone? Okay. Click.
We have a story now that'll touch your heart. The man's name was Robert Harless, and Robert chose the homosexual lifestyle because he craved attention from men. But along with the sexual activity came drugs, and soon Robert was facing full-blown AIDS. Every day,
Yeah, because that's the formula. Oh, you get with the gays, you get the drugs, and then you get AIDS.
And then if you stop doing drugs and gay stuff, does that mean the AIDS suddenly just dries up?
Oh yeah, sure. Of course that works like that. Because it's a disease, it's a gay is a prerequisite of that. It's totally impossible that straight people can get that.
It must be fueled by butt semen or something.
Yeah, I guess.
Fueled by Santorum, not the senator, the other stuff.
Yeah. More craziness.
It does amaze me how many people are still believe that that AIDS and HIV is still a gay disease. It's like crazy that there's still people that believe that this day and age.
Hey, yeah, well, craziness is contagious, but not like this. Anyway, more direct.
till a Christian family befriended him and gave him a reason to live. And Robert was looking for acceptance to get away from abusive stepfather. There's so many young people, and we have all these myths about homosexuality, and he was just being.
Yeah, you're kind of peddling one right now. It's ironic. Kind of funny, but ironic.
This seems to be like the gay people were just abused and shit that he's kind of spouting now.
Yeah. I think that's kind of interesting, given the fact that, kind of in my early years, like a lot of the like molestation things that were going on in school were done by, like in high school and stuff, were done by like female teachers and stuff with like male students. So I mean, were they just like, were they, pressured into being like straight and stuff like that, or what?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting too. I watched the Drunken Peasants. They had a guy named Milo Yiannopoulos. I don't know if you guys know who he is.
Yeah, I know who he is.
He talked about when he the first time he had sex was with another guy. It was when he was 13 with a priest. But he says he says I was the 13-year-old, but I was the predator.
No, hold on. It wasn't a priest. It was I think it was a male crossdresser. I think.
It's okay. It was something like that. But basically, he went on to say that basically, I may have been 13 and he may have been an adult, but I was the predator in that relationship. I was the one looking for it. I was the one pushing it.
Yeah, that is nonsense. Yeah. Anyway, let's finish up this clip.
All right.
Well, they just wanted to take advantage, and he didn't know any better. He thought they'd what they were showing him as love when actually was one form of lust. And when he came free, that he wasn't a quote homosexual. He was a person looking for love. He wanted the real thing, and he got it. God gave him real love.
Okay.
Let's examine the subtext. First of all, it seems almost as if he was implying people were not, or homosexuals are not people.
Yeah. Also, they're incapable of love,
Yeah.
absent of following something that only he deems worthy.
You can
But,
only love opposite genitalia, apparently.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's impossible to to just go with the one of your own gender, or like vice versa, or both ways, or anything like that. Right, Jenny?
I'm sorry,
No,
what
no,
was
no.
that?
I said it's impossible to go with love with the love with someone of the same gender, or vice versa, both ways, or anything like that. Right, Jenny?
Yeah, it's absolutely impossible. It's never happened in my life.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's also completely impossible for a homosexuality to have a evolutionary advantage in that it maybe slows down a little bit population growth and allows it to expand at a more controlled, more level rate that doesn't tax resources too heavily.
Yeah,
If you know what I'm saying.
yeah. Yeah, MGTOW actually got it right. 78% of teachers in the U.S. are female, and 84% of the pedophilia towards students are from female teachers. Yeah, I actually pointed that out. But yeah, I mean, I really feel like this is sort of going to become sort of like a dying issue with time. I mean, it. I mean, this aside, there are really no secular good secular arguments for this to be against LGBT rights or anything like that. It's other than bigotry and simple bias. I mean, there's really nothing nothing there.
Yeah, every time they try, it's always with cherry pick data, and like they'll compare very unstable gay couples to stable monogamous heterosexual couples, and it turns out that the stability actually, that's the main driving factor to provide for a better stable house is stability. Surprise, surprise. A lot of so often they'll just try and cherry pick the data and make it appear as if what they're saying is true, but not, which is violations of the Ninth Commandment. Which I wish Potholder 54 was still doing his awards to help out with that, but oh well. Are you familiar with Potholder 54's awards from back in the day?
I think I've heard of Apollo 54. I'm not sure about the awards. You can enlighten me on that.
He had the Golden Crocoduck, which was the greatest violation of the Ninth Commandment in defense of creationism. And there was another one, which was the Stone Commander, Defiance and Ignorance Reward, which is the dumbest question asked in the confident expectation that there is no possible explanation. Which was most notably won by Bill O'Reilly. When he asked what moves the tides. And to make it better, he was on his private. I'm not sure if you saw this part, but on the private version, he told them it was the moon, and he's like, "Well, how'd the moon get there? You don't know that." It's like, "Yes, we do."
I think it's to my understanding that it was a part of the Earth that sort of broke off over time, and
Yeah, it's the leading theory right now is that a large asteroid hit the Earth a long time ago, and over time it kind of coalesced into one big ball. A lot of the debris. and it's now moving away at a couple inches per year. As the Earth moves away from the sun, and we get farther apart into heat death, isn't that a warm thought?
Okay. Yeah, that is interesting. Okay, moving on. All right, let's see. Um, Pastor James Manning and his church to be foreclosed on. Huh, that's interesting. He actually avoided it. Um, no, I mean it's fine. It's fine. Just hang on. Let me just get this link up here. Okay. Okay. Originally, Pastor James Manning, the same guy that talked about the you know, the somehow the semen of the gay folks in the coffee at
Yeah.
Starbucks and the homo demons, possessing people, and Obama's mother being a whore, which is kind of effed up, and also what else did he say? Also, one of the more recent things he said, aside from gays have to pull a baby out of their ass to take the church from him, and also like gays looking for black meat. I mean, this is all weird coming from a preacher personally, but okay. Anyway, his church was set to be auctioned on the 24th of this month due to having $1 million in debt. Right
Mm-hmm.
now he got a temporary restraining order, because he appealed to the I think New York Supreme Justice or something like that, or Supreme Judge or whatever. But and it was supposed to be looked at for April. Now he got moved from there. But it's fine for this LGBT center who is actually planning on buying it, with the donation money they're getting in, and they're actually looking over, like the building and the architecture, because they're actually having it remodeled in an LGBT center for homeless
Yeah.
LGBT kids. So it's basically to be looked over and stuff like this, and for when the auction is to take place in April. Now, according to what James Manning has said, he said that if it does go forward, he would he'd take up arms. He said he didn't want to go to the extreme, but he would take up arms via Cliven Bundy in a way, and basically just he stay in. He was going to barricade the church basically and stay in there with his members. But I doubt that's going to go well.
Dude, you're black. Look what the Bundys were white, and look what happened to them. You'd be totally fucked.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. They did take a while just to get with Cliven Bundy. And how many people they killed? Like one guy?
Yeah.
Like seriously, imagine the entire double standard they would have with that situation. I would just give it up and just find another place. I mean that and here's the thing. I get that he believes in the Bible and everything. It says in the book of Luke, you gotta render Caesar unto Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't paid your bills, like, dude, you gotta, just, either get it or get out. I mean, like, simple as that.
Yeah, and
I mean,
one of the other things that kind of pissed me off about it is I found out about, it's bad enough that they don't have to pay the taxes, but on top of that, there's a lot of churches get free utilities. What the fuck is with that? They don't have to pay their water bill like the rest of us do. That makes it even worse.
I mean, the whole thing about the water bill is bullshit. I mean, he has like $1 million in debt. Okay, whatever this dude did, I mean, he obviously just had a. I don't know if he just took a long rest on it, but he has fines, fees, and a bunch of other stuff to pay.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
how do you rack up $1 million in water debt? Do you have a secret gay bathhouse under your church or something?
Yeah, seriously.
Actually, I'm gonna encourage the internet to spread that rumor. All right. Come on, everyone. I want everyone to think that Pastor Gate and
Hey! Just because he served time and that he was tempted by his own admission does not mean that he wants the black meat. He's just talking about it, okay, and reporting about it and throwing it over innuendos and stuff like that.
he
Okay, that
wants the
doesn't
black
mean.
meat with white cream.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Yeah, but he's totally closeted. It's too obvious.
Yeah, maybe we need to get him and Tommy Hall together someday.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, other story. Looking for that. Okay, the shocking number of atheists in the U.S. Congress. This ought to be interesting. It's coming up now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, right here. Okay, reading it. Not a single member in the 114th U.S. Congress is an admitted atheist, while the number of religiously unaffiliated representatives grew by one to a grand total of one in 2015, with the election of Representative Christian Sinema. Atheists remain strikingly underrepresented on Capitol Hill. Compare that to national polling, which shows that atheists, agnostics, and religiously unaffiliated identities are on the rise in the U.S., and the congressional divide becomes more striking. The trend probably has something to do with the fact that atheists are considered highly unelectable according to Gallup polls. Between now and the 2016 political conventions, there will be discussions about the qualifications of presidential candidates, their education, age, religion, race, and so on. If your party nominated a generally well-qualified person for president who happens to be blank, would you vote for that person? And I mean, I think the only silver lining is that a socialist is more likely to be president than an atheist.
Yeah, the only thing is, it's so often the demographic that votes the most is old people. So, and they're the least secularized demographic in the United States right now, which leads to the probable issue with that. Hopefully, young people can actually start voting if Bernie's. That's the only. I mean, I fear that if Hillary gets the nomination, a lot of the young vote will decide to stay home, and we'll end up with President Trump at this point.
Yeah. I mean, the whole stigma about atheists are less distrusting than rapists and all this stuff. It goes back to that to the whole Cold War, right? Where the communist Russia and everything were cold, materialistic, godless, and everything like that. And America at that time was trying to let's say Christianize the culture, put in God we trust on the money, yada yada. Try to make it, we pledge allegiance to the flag, one nation under God, all this, just to Christianize it. After they lost the Cold War, it's been like that ever since.
Yeah, one of the big issues with that, though, is they tend to overlook the fact that as far as his rhetoric goes, as far as what he used to sell himself as a leader, Adolf Hitler was hardcore Christian. So it seems to me what you don't want.
He wasn't a true Christian though.
Yeah, fuck that. I'd like to point out Hitler killed practically nobody. It's the Christians who followed him that did it.
Yeah, it is true. Then he had the backing of the Catholic Church on his side.
Right. And it's just, how about we do, it's the same thing that the Founding Fathers said. How about we get out of the religion game entirely? We'll have a secular nation. That doesn't leave us fucking fighting over which how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. We don't have to go to war with Muslim countries simply because the Pope gets pissy over Jerusalem or whatever the fuck. Let's just stay out of that shit.
Basically. But I think with the rise of secularism among the millennials, I think there might be, this might be the best thing for the country in that, there are discriminations on a lot of sides. And it's not just, with secular folk. It's also with a bunch of other groups like Muslims and Skeets and stuff like that. For those of you who don't know what Skeet is, it's sort of like an ancient Indian religion and stuff like that. And like the issue is with that, they like to wear the turbans, and because of that, a lot of Skeets are mistaken to be Muslim, therefore, like Americans be all like, oh, look over there, it's a Muslim. He got the turban over there. Let's fuck with him. Yeah, yeah. Hey, you want to come over here and take our freedom? We'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah, Hindu kind of get that a little bit too.
Yeah.
It's just it's so fucking stupid and waste of time and lives and money.
Yeah. So with this new generation coming in, hopefully it'll make something of a paradigm shift to where, this stuff becomes like a less of an issue to like worry about what a person personally believes in, like and worry more about like the ideas that they have, on a practical scale, so that like a lot of this can be blown over, like for more equality and freedom and stuff like that.
Right, that's another thing I like about Bernie is I haven't seen him bend over to kiss any religion's butts yet.
Yeah, I mean, and whenever his views come up, it's all about, like, a lot of it seems to be very humanist, like, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and the one thing that does concern me is some of the stuff that goes in colleges nowadays, the SJW stuff and the Muslim apologism for some of the horrific stuff that some Islamic fundamentalists do, and they try and distance it from Islam, and they say it's not true Islam, but yet when Christians do evil shit, well, they have no problem saying that is Christianity.
Yeah, the double standards and all that stuff.
Yeah,
that does bother me. I think what bothers me worse is like was whenever they do the slam poetry and everything like that.
God.
I know, right? That just irks the crap out of me.
And the worst thing about that is it's actually kind of popular, apparently, in those circles. Wonder if they're going to have any slam poetry in defense of Jenny McDermott here in a couple of weeks.
Oh, jeez.
Like wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe. Okay, we got a couple more stories, and then we're probably gonna wrap it up. Okay. Let's see. Legal recreational marijuana clears final Vermont Senate hurdle. Oh, cool. I'll put the link in the side chat here. Hey Ryan, could you read that for me?
I cannot. The side chat is not continuing to move at all for me.
Okay, fine.
This old laptop isn't playing for shit right now.
I mean, yeah, mine is good. It's just that it's taking its sweet ass time with getting this article up. Come on.
No, on my end, the screen literally hasn't moved in about 5-10 minutes. My computer's being under repairs right now, my good one, so I'm just kind of waiting for that to get back.
Okay, wait, hang on. Shit. If it doesn't work, we'll just stick with another one.
All right.
Okay, look at the draw. Look at the draw. Oh, okay. Okay, forget the marijuana thing. I'll just make a separate video for that. We'll just talk about this. ISIS losing its capital. Okay. All right. Awesome. Anyway, okay. So this week's fighting in Syria has seen major changes for the self-proclaimed Islamic State's grip there, leaving some in the Pentagon wondering if ISIS is trying to expand its territorial hold or it's in its last throes. This week, Kurdish forces pushed the terror group out of two cities, Al-Thurar and Ash Shahadi, that sit on supply routes for ISIS's de facto Syrian capital, Raqqa. In Ash Shahadi, Kurdish forces received substantial U.S.-led coalition airstrike support. At the same time, ISIS appears to be making strides towards taking new cities in in western Syria. The terror group has aggressively fended off months-long Russian-led attempt to reclaim the central city of Palmyra, a city that many believe could serve as ISIS's entree into western Syria. And ISIS claimed responsibility for a series of deadly bombings Sunday in the city of Homs and the southern outskirts of Damascus that killed at least 200 people, potentially signaling its move on those cities. Is ISIS trying to broaden its area of control to making it harder for both Russian and U.S.-backed forces to fight there? Okay. Or is it losing ground around its capital and looking for any city in Syria where it can grow? Defense officials are cautiously hoping it's the latter, noting that the number of ISIS fighters continues to fall. The latest Pentagon estimate that the terror group's ranks stand at 15,000, the lowest of the war. They quote, "They are shifting the fight toward territory that is fruitful," one defense official explained to the Daily Beast. "The more we show they are indeed not a state, the more we are undermining their narrative. On the other hand, if ISIS gains more territory in Syria, even with few fighters and in the thousands of coalition strikes, it would solidify the group's grip on that country. However, moreover, such gains would stretch the Russian and coalition forces' air campaigns against them." What do you think so far?
Well, I hate to give credit where, but I give it where it's due. Russia's done a fairly good job messing up ISIS, even if I do feel like they're coming in at the end, kind of like America did at World War II, kind of a thing. Just a big sudden surge of power at the end that helped end everything. But as far as which one is it? After Iraq and Cheney and Bush, I'm hesitant to say last throws, because last time we heard that was in 2003 in the Iraq War, and it continued for 8 years after that or something. So I'm not quite as, honestly, I don't want to really say anything unless I got intelligence on the ground to let me know specifically what's going on. Obviously, the idea that they have fewer soldiers than ever is a good idea. Hopefully, a lot of the people who were fighting with them simply because they were scared not to are starting to bugger off. Maybe soon some of the former Iraqi generals who have been leading them might, if they see it's a losing cause, might try and work out a surrender that's beneficial to them, so that way they don't have to face full war crimes. And at that point, you check that if ISIS doesn't have the trained generals, then they become not much better than any other group of radicals that have been running around with, trying to do bad things and ultimately not managing to pull off much beyond the occasional little bit of chaos.
I suppose. I feel like it depends on whether or not we could, cut off their resources, because, they are well funded, but at the same time, yeah. I mean, it's all a matter of doing that, but, I can't, give a definitive answer either way. I guess we're just gonna have to see, whether or not, we have, the capacity to deal with wiping them out or whatever. But I guess we really have to just wait and see on that, I suppose.
I do find it interesting that apparently some wealthy Americans were helping to fund ISIS once upon a time.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, during the Iraq War, where like thousands of guns were lost during that conflict,
Yeah.
it was like some radical Islamic militants found them, and Tada ISIS was made.
Well, theoretically, ISIS goes back into the 90s, but that's the day that they really got their opportunity to stand up and be something.
Yeah, right. Okay,
because the group that used to be called the group that was in Iraq, they called themselves Al Qaeda in Iraq, but weren't really Al Qaeda. That's basically what they are. ISIS. That's what ISIS grew out of.
Yeah, right. I agree. Okay, I think that's we've touched on a lot of stuff. I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. All right, I'd like to thank everyone for participating. This has been Pandemonium Live episode 13. Take care and have a nice day. Ooh, later.